Today we're going to cover section 1.5 or BJU Press Geometry textbook. We're going to be looking at an ideal Euclidean model. So our objectives is to look at the characteristics of an ideal geometric system. And those characteristics include consistent, independent, and complete. We're also going to identify and use the incidence postulates. So logic is the interrelation or sequence of facts or events when seen as inevitable or predictable. Logic is also something that forces a decision apart from or in opposition to reason. So geometry is a system. It's a system that's built out of definitions, postulates, and theorems. And all of these definitions, postulates, and theorems, they're going to be built in a logical progression. A key to a good geometry system is a set of postulates or basic assumptions. So these are like the building blocks of the system. So we want our system to be consistent, independent, and complete. We're going to look at each of these characteristics individually. The first characteristic I want to look at is consistent. So in order to be consistent, you can't change your story. You can't contradict yourself. So in geometry, that's when we have our postulates or our very important fundamental statements. They cannot contradict each other as well. Because if they contradict each other, they're not consistent, and then our system falls apart. Let's look at independent. In this case, the system has no postulates that can be proved from other postulates in the system. So it's not going to be dependent on anything else to prove that it's true. Then we have complete. Okay? The postulates leave no unanswered questions about the system. So for geometry, even though we have what we call an ideal system, we're never really going to be the perfect system. And the reason why is because there's no way for us to be a complete system. We don't have all of the knowledge that's out there that God has. And so we're never really going to be complete. We're always going to have unanswered questions. So our Euclidean model is based on 5 incidence postulates. So these 5 postulates are our building blocks. They're the foundation to the system of geometry that we study. So what is an incidence postulate? Incidence is a partial overlapping of 2 figures. So incidence is when something, think about if there's an incident, there's like a collide or an intersection of something or something that happens, right? So incidence is a partial overlapping of 2 things. So 2 figures or a figure and a line, 2 things are combining together. So a postulate, also known as an axiom, is something assumed without proof as being self-evident or generally accepted. So especially when we're building an argument, okay? It's also, a postulate is considered a fundamental element or a basic principle. So an incidence postulate is a self-evident truth about the intersection of 2 figures or a figure and a line. Let's look at our first postulate. Remember, there's going to be 5 of them. The first one is the expansion postulate, and that says that a line contains at least 2 points. So expansion postulate says that a line contains at least 2 points. It also says that a plane contains at least 3 non-collinear points, and space contains at least 4 non-coplanar points. So look how it builds. It goes from line to plane to space, and it goes from 2 to 3 to 4. So you can see how it builds. Then our second postulate is the line postulate. This says that any 2 points in space lie in exactly one line. Then we have a plane postulate, and that says 3 distinct non-collinear points lie in exactly one plane. Then we have the flat plane postulate. If 2 points lie in a plane, then the line containing these 2 points lies in the same plane. So if you have 2 points in a plane, and you were to connect those 2 points, the line that's connecting those 2 points is going to also be in the same plane as those 2 points. Our last postulate is the plane intersection postulate. And that says if 2 planes intersect, then their intersection is exactly one line. So when 2 planes collide, they collide at one line. That's the name of their intersection. So let's take a look here. As you can see, we've got a blue plane and we've got a yellow plane, and when they intersect, they create that pink line right there. So you can see that when 2 planes intersect, they form a line. All right, let's try some practice. True or false? 2 planes always intersect. Is that true or false? The answer is false because they could be parallel, and if the 2 planes are parallel planes, then they will never intersect. Let's try another question. 4 non-coplanar points determine space. That's true. Remember, that was the first postulate that we talked about, the expansion postulate, that says 2 points make up a line, 3 points make up a plane, and 4 points determine space. Next question. A plane always contains at least 2 lines. True, by the expansion postulate and the line postulate. Number 4, a plane must contain infinitely many points. This is false. This is not guaranteed by the given postulates. Nowhere on our postulates does it say that it has to have infinitely many points. A plane must contain at least 5 points. Again, false. This is not guaranteed by any of the given postulates. And so that's the last true or false questions. So you should be ready to attempt your problems.